Welcome to Mastering Life's Adventures, an educational podcast about tapping into your true self, the soul, the substance of your life, to discover what life's ups and downs are really about, and how to have a greater sense of purpose, peace, joy, and fulfillment. I am Dr. Judith Holder, your host, coach psychologist, fellow seeker who enjoys diving into the connections between spirituality, psychology, wellness, and your everyday life's adventures. All preparing and polishing you like the facets of a magnificent diamond to be your best self. If you're craving more from your life, you are in the right place. Come, let's journey together and transforming what you know into who you really are. Mastering Life's Adventures begins now.
Hi, I'm back. I'm here to talk about the next simple key in soul growth. I'm going to put it together as this issue around emotional clarity, which can build mental clarity. Just think about it. What happens when you detox your emotions for mental clarity? How to move out of self-limiting beliefs for ourselves. Part of that is being aware of our emotions to have greater clarity of mind, which also ties in what the soul is looking for, a greater sense of harmony and balance internally that can help to guide us and direct us in our life. One of the things we're going to be focused on is something that's uncomfortable for some people, as I'm talking about mental clarity and the emotions that happen with limiting beliefs for ourselves, and that is self-compassion. We've all been there, right? When we hear this voice within us that said, again, that sense of you're not good enough, or you've messed up again, or that sinking feeling that happens inside ourselves when we think we made a mistake of any kind. We tend to be more critical of ourselves. We're not very kind. And we can ruminate about the situation, feel drained, and it keeps us up at night. All that is kind of a way of us not being kind to ourselves. Would you ever thought about what impact that has on your soul? Yeah, it does impact our soul. And so today we're going to be exploring how to embrace compassion for yourself, especially in your hardest moments. That inner critic within you keeps on talking about how you could do it better and how you did it wrong. And if we can shift that, it will be a game changer for your emotional and spiritual growth and well-being. So let's dive into self-compassion. That's maybe the missing piece that many of us are in search of. I'm going to be talking about, the impact of unprocessed emotions, the impact of unprocessed emotions on mental clarity. Because haven't you found that when we're emotionally upset, it's hard for us to think sometimes? Or we need to put those emotions in a box or a closet and lock it up, but that's not necessarily in our best interest. We've got to understand those emotions and process them for greater clarity. So I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to also talk about emotional detox and what that really means, especially for the soul. And maybe there are tools we can utilize to help us increase the detox process from these negative emotions. And the benefit is the other thing I want to talk about that we can gain that allows the soul to continue to flourish and grow. So that's my focus for today. So let's begin. Let's talk about the impact of unprocessed emotions. Let's talk about unprocessed emotions on mental clarity. Because we talked about last time, self-limiting beliefs at the mental level. So let's continue that. When we don't process our emotions, they can build up and create this mental fog. It's like walking through a fog and not seeing very clearly what our next steps will be. These emotions interfere with our own ability to think clearly, make decisions, and connect with our inner wisdom, our soul self, because of the fog we find ourselves in. For example, someone holding on to unresolved anger They're really, anger that they've held on for a period of time, a long period of time, about what someone did to them, which they find themselves in a constant state of being irritable or distracted, or making it harder to focus, for them harder to focus in their work or enjoying time with their loved ones, because they just have this kind of sense of anger, frustration, irritability. Well, consider someone who hasn't forgiven in the past, which is why they're holding on to that anger. They felt betrayed. And every time they think about it, they get angry and build up resentment. These emotions linger because where we put our attention is where we get more experience. So it's affecting their ability to think clearly or make decisions. Just as you can have a house full of clutter, we can have emotional clutter too, that becomes a constant source of distraction, preventing us from connecting with our higher purpose, our inner self, the sensitivities of our soul that is trying to direct us and guide us. Having these ongoing unprocessed emotions, be it anger or be it resentment or be it bitterness, actually do create what is I like to call an emotional cloud. An emotional cloud that hinders mental clarity for us to see the truth and act accordingly to that truth. But when we are able to confront and release these negative emotions, and they may be based upon the ego persona, which I've talked about in other episodes, that when we're not able to release these emotions, we can create an emotional stuckness that is not in alignment with our soul growth and progress. We need to figure out ways to detox from these negative types of emotions. And what I mean, and really mean by detoxing, I mean, first of all, that emotional detox is a conscious process to release pent-up emotions, be it anger, sadness, resentment, bitterness, that no longer serve us. They're just occupying space and cluttering us internally within ourselves and our mind and how we're thinking, and does not give us the clarity of mind, which impacts what happens in the clarity of our heart or the lack thereof. This unresolved expression of emotions may come out in our conversations, may come out in our physical activities we do, may come out in people just seeing us maybe tight and constricted in some ways. But when we allow ourselves to release these types of negativity, then we can find ways that through yoga, through activities, running, that we can do to help ourselves to release these energies through breath. There are many ways we can do that. Detoxifying from these emotions helps us navigate stressful situations with ease. We're not having this clutter build up within us that creates more stress in our thinking and feelings. We need to make a habit of releasing certain emotions that don't work for us any longer and become better at staying on center and on point, which will allow us to have a clearer head, a clear ability to make decisions. For example, a person who's holding on to anger from an old argument might practice emotional detox by speaking with the person they are upset with, or journaling their feelings to let go of the negative energy. Sometimes we don't do the very thing that's right in front of us because of fear, because we don't think it's going to make a difference. We didn't try to say, I'd like to talk about this situation. If you need guidance or help about how to talk about that, that's where a coach or a counselor, confidant, or minister comes in handy to be able to say, I don't know how to say this. I need to say it and get it off my chest in a positive, respectful way. Can you help me here? When we can be able to do that, then that emotional detox that we have by having the conversation with the person and releasing negativity by creatively expressing how we're feeling through artwork, or simply allowing yourself to feel your emotions fully and then releasing them. Saying, okay, we need to let go of this. Will help us. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is reclaim our inner peace and clarity by breathing, acknowledging, letting go, not ruminating over it. And so there are some tools that can help us with that process, but we first have to be alert and aware of when and how it shows itself in our bodies, our thinking, and how we speak to other individuals. All that is helpful, giving us information that the soul is saying, get this off of me, take this away, I don't need this weight on me. We realize our anger is impacting another person, and you say, I don't want to have that type of impact on the person. I want to have a positive impact upon them. And so I need to monitor how I'm feeling, ruminating about things, and start to journal, get engaged in meditation, either if it's just 5-minute meditation or 10-minute meditation about the situation. Do breath work. There's a lot of power in how we breathe. Diaphragmatic breathing can be very, very helpful. Also, being more mindful in how you interact with individuals. Being more intentional about being kind, being considerate, being thoughtful in your interactions can be very much helpful. And research has shown that journaling allows emotions to surface and go away. And we have them kind of put in an area and in a journal that we can go back and look at and see what our progress is from day to day or week to week or month to month. All that, along with similar to meditation, helps us to process our feelings without being attached to them. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do through these activities. Being more detached from the feelings, allowing us to notice what other emotions that are there without judgment, acknowledging it. So that means we would try to set aside some time on a daily basis or every other day or however frequently you want. You're putting this time aside in order to release certain tensions, certain thoughts that I'm having that are not helpful to me. And it's also a part of the daily process of work that you've maybe come home. You may take a few minutes just to do a journal in order to release some of the emotions, old emotions or new emotions in terms of stress that's going on for you. And maybe taking some deep breaths when you get into your car to go to work or go home. Those breaths, knowing that there are calming breaths you're doing before you go to sleep at night. So you're not carrying it into your dreams and into your body needing the rest that it needs. That all these little things help to clear space that allows you to be more at peace with yourself. For example, someone may think about that they're going to use journaling on a daily basis as their way of releasing emotional energy that needs to be detoxed. They allow emotions of frustration or joy or sadness, usually more negative emotions. You start flowing and you start writing on the page and your thoughts about what this is all due to and what does it mean for your soul and how can your soul be able to navigate through this situation. And you may pray first, even to your own higher self, to God or Jesus, to help you to understand this a little bit better before you begin to write. And then through your journaling process over time, you notice that you're feeling lighter and more present in the daily things that you're doing. Your meditation, breath work, and the meditation and the breath work that you're doing to breathe in and breathe out, and the physical activity that you may have decided to do in terms of yoga or walking, then have aided you in the emotional detox. When we can detox from these negative emotions, this practice allows us to now not bottle up how we're feeling, but we're finding constructive ways to release the energy. And this emotional liberation clears our way to our soul to help to further direct us and guide us. And also may tie us into other spiritual practices we can engage in, like reading the Bible, reflective thinking about a poem that you have read, or listening to music that feels enlightening, that helps you further with releasing some of the emotional toxins that are built up. There's great benefit for the soul when you're doing this, Because this baggage that you're letting go of, that you may have had for a few days or decades, when you're able to release that, detox from those emotions, you are reconnecting yourself to your true self, your soul self, the substance of your life. And it's uncovering within you a greater sense of clarity and inner peace. And you're also enlisting grace to hear what you need to do. That fog has been lifted. So it strengthens you for more and greater emotional resilience, making you feel better equipped to handle whatever life brings your way. And as you do this kind of detox emotionally, you may find that you're more present, less reactive, which the soul says, great, because I can speak to you more. I can guide you more when you're not in this reactive cycle of reacting into situations. There we go again, or, that was lousy, or, all this reactivity that happens within us. It aligns you more with your soul's desire. And this can translate not only to your soul's well-being, but you're having healthier relationships, increasing self-awareness about yourself, seeing where you're going to slip on that banana peel. See it, take it, and put it in the garbage. You no longer need to engage in that old behavior. This all builds the sense of being more connected to your inner self. That also may help you reduce moodiness that can happen when we have toxic emotions build up in ourselves. It allows us to be more in tune with goals that we want to achieve and the purpose, and can have a greater clarity about purpose in our life and direction that we want to move. It helps us to go deeper in ourselves and not just live on the surface of ourselves. And as we leave these emotional baggage that you've identified and you're connecting more to your soul self, the authentic aspect of who you are, it allows you to feel as if you are mastering your life. You are mastering, and that's what life is about, that we are mastering certain emotions, certain thoughts, certain ways of being in a more healthy, constructive, and engaging way. Let me give you 2 case studies that I was thinking about. These are a compilation of the people. So what's Sarah's journey, for example, for self-compassion? Because that's ultimately what we're looking at too. By doing the emotional detox, we are actually looking for ways to be more compassionate with ourselves and harbor feelings of anger, bitterness, resentment, and irritability. We're collapsing that, having greater mastery by some of the ways I've just shared. But let's talk about Sarah, for example. She struggled with chronic self-criticism, especially related to her career. She constantly compared herself to others and felt inadequate. After learning about self-compassion and needing to help liberate her soul from this weight, she began to say, I definitely need to do something different. I can't always engage in this comparing myself to others or feeling inadequate. It takes too much energy. And when she learned about self-compassion and detoxing herself from certain emotions, she slowly started to notice a shift in how she approached challenges. She did some of the things we talked about in this episode. She was willing to observe herself, see when she's engaging these negative emotions of feeling of inadequacy or not being worthy. She saw where it came out and start journaling about it. She started asking her inner self, what else can I do? What is the higher way of being? How can I feel greater connection to my soul and my soul's strength to help me move through these situations? She started getting a greater sense of her intuition helping to guide her. And slowly, she noticed a shift in how she approached challenges. She no longer viewed mistakes as failures, but as opportunities for growth and for her soul to grow. how do I embrace the situation? I went through it. I can't deny it. So let me learn from it. Let me grow from it. This allowed her confidence to grow, and her work improved because she felt supported at work. They felt a shift in her attitude and her ability to express herself more. She no longer put into this what I call CCJ, criticism, condemnation, judgment of herself. That inner dialogue started to dissolve. And that's what we want. We want that inner dialogue to dissolve. We want those emotions that accompany that inner dialogue to start to get less and less and less. It can be done through consistency and through willingness to observe ourselves and make shifts and changes. So let me give you another example. This is about Mike. Mike was battling depression, and he had internalized a lot of negative beliefs to childhood experiences, to that quality of not feeling good enough and feeling small, insignificant. He started reading up of how he could be doing things in a different way. He started listening to podcasts about what he wanted to be and how he could find that deeper within himself by clearing some of the fog of negativity of his of the emotions that were attached to his depression. He also got some coaching and counseling around that to help him to move forward. And he started being aware of how he was internalizing these negative beliefs, as I mentioned to you, that he had in childhood as well as a teenager, and also even early adulthood. He was still harboring these negative experiences that he had on his life journey. And as he practiced self-compassion by reading and affirmations and treating himself as if he would a dear friend, his sense of self-worth began to blossom. He began to take his attention away from the depression and the negativity and the negative experiences into how I want to be. What is my soul desiring here? How do I use spiritual principles from the Bible, through other means that keeps me grounded in knowing that God loves me, regardless of my childhood, adolescence, or adulthood. God loves me. And how do I warm up to that and feel it as true and not false? Because we're the ones who are more conditional about how we are and what we do. God is unconditional. There are certain laws in the universe you need to follow. But God wants the best for us. Always will, always has. We have to start to change our thinking, change our emotions. And that's why I'm talking about this today in terms of finding ways for you to let go of some of these emotions that lead you away from mental clarity. Because when we can have clarity of mind, which Mike is trying to do, and move past a depression or a negative emotional state, then we have the clarity of mind that God can instruct and guide us, that we can be able to hear. And we can be able to lead with the prompting of our soul to do certain activities that moves us in the right direction. And so he, over time, was talking to himself like he would to a dear friend, being compassionate, being loving, being kind. Guess what? His mental health improved significantly. Over time, he developed a stronger sense of self-worth because, again, where you put your attention, where your experience will be. He started reading about self-worth. He started engaging in behaviors that allowed him to keep that drawbridge of his castle drawn up to anything that was going to be negative or harmful or hinder him to achieve his goal, which was have a greater sense of well-being. He would let the drawbridge down for thoughts and feelings that were healthy and helpful, and the drawbridge would go up for those things that were not. So as he began to be intentional and his self-worth and self-esteem began to increase, he found himself making healthier life choices. And his relationship also improved as he began to be more empathetic toward himself. Then he could extend that to others too. And people could see the blossoming of the true self of who he really was, which was a compassionate person who, yes, didn't have the greatest childhood experiences, but he, as an adult, was making conscious choices to change that. And he did it through the emotional detox. The emotional detoxing is not just about letting go of pain. It's about making space for clarity, peace, personal growth, soul awareness, spiritual groundedness, and something greater than yourself, which is God, the Creator, the Atman. By releasing negative emotions, it helps us clear away the mental clutter that prevents you from stepping into your soul's potential, your growth, and who you are. The soul is the substance of your life. Something to think about. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining me for this episode on Mastering Life's Adventures, being your best self through soul evolution. If you have enjoyed what you've heard today, I would be delighted if you would share this episode with others, leave a thumbs up, and subscribe to my Mastering Life's Adventures podcast. Look forward to your joining the next episode. Please leave any comments or suggestions you might have below. Bye for now.